Hey guys! Welcome to Couple. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. Donald Trump has a plan to solve America's drug crisis: kill the drug dealers. We have pushers and drugs dealers, they are killing hundreds and hundreds of people, Trump said at a recent White House summit on opioid abuse. Some countries have a very, very tough penalty, the ultimate penalty, and by the way, they have much less of a drug problem than we do. Trump claims he got the idea for killing drug dealers from his pal, Chinese President for life, Xi Jinping. That's a first, an American president openly borrowing a criminal justice program from an autocrat, and a communist one, to boot. To be fair, Trump clearly also had in mind the experience of a democratic country. In the last 2 years, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has encouraged a spree of extrajudicial police executions aimed at the drug trade that, according to Human Rights Watch, has left more than 12,000 Filipinos dead. Although the International Criminal Court has launched an inquiry into Duterte's crimes against humanity, Trump has praised him for doing an incredible job with his anti-drug program. The president's embrace of the death penalty for drug dealers is but one example of his across-the-board scorn for human rights as he buddies up with the world's most notorious autocrats and directs the Pentagon to ensure that ongoing human rights catastrophes around the world grow even worse. Meanwhile, he's proposed slashing State Department programs promoting democracy and human rights, while trying to roll back movements for rights and freedoms in the United States. Think of him as a driver who's been licensed to operate the world's largest vehicle despite his utter contempt for the rules of the road. Not surprisingly, the traffic forecast is bleak, with hardliner Mike Pompeo about to take over as Secretary of State. His department will prove even less of a speed bump in the president's dangerous game of chicken with the global community. Two cheers for hypocrisy. U.S. foreign policy used to be reliably two-faced. Washington would regularly call out its adversaries on human rights abuses while largely ignoring the egregious violations of its closest friends. During the Cold War, for instance, the United States routinely lambasted the Soviet Union for its appalling record on human rights but handed out free passes to Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines, the Shah of Iran, and others of their ilk. Sure, the State Department has been issuing an exhaustive annual report on human rights violators that, for half a century, provided grim details on repressive governments like those of the Saudis and Egyptians. But that didn't stop successive administrations from supplying those same autocracies with virtually all the weapons and military aid they claimed they needed, even as Washington maintained an arms embargo on China instituted after Beijing cracked down on the Tiananmen Square protests in June 1989. And when the United States does lift such embargoes, as with Vietnam in 2016, it has everything to do with geopolitics, containing China, and nothing to do with human rights. Now along comes Donald Trump, a thoroughgoing hypocrite on practically every subject except human rights. There, he has extended the blind eye of American policy to just about everyone. With a few exceptions that prove the rule, he could care less about such abuses, even when they involve his own administration, including wife-beaters, Nazi sympathizers, and the incorrigibly corrupt, not to mention U.S. military personnel abroad, or ICE employees in this country. Consider these telling changes in the Trumpian era. When the State Department released last year's Human Rights Report, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson didn't even bother to hold the traditional press conference or present the findings himself, though he was in Washington at the time. This year's report, unreleased and overdue, will wrap